In today's global economy, quality matters. Benjamin Franklin once quipped, "The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten." Quality Matters is here to talk about all things quality. So whether you're looking to improve your business, getting ready for an audit, or dealing with failed inspections, tune in, check us out, then get back to doing work that matters.
Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Quality Matters, brought to you by Texas Quality Assurance, where quality management gets simplified. Today, we are talking about a little bit of a different topic, not quite in our normal realm to discuss on the Quality Matters podcast. We're going to be talking about recession and whether it's what we're in is deemed a recession or not. I think we all feel it to some degree or another, and there's obviously a high likelihood official recession is headed our way. So what does that mean for our businesses? What does it mean specifically for small, mid-sized businesses? And how can we use this to our benefit rather than our detriment, like we saw, especially during the last downturn with COVID or the Great Recession in 2008? So today we've got one of our favorite guests returning here. This is Mark LaCour, and he is just an absolute wealth of information for great innovative ideas for businesses. So Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, thank you. Number one. Number two, don't set me up like that. I'm just another small business owner in the oil and gas industry, but great to be on the show again. Great to see you again.
Awesome. Well, we're both small business owners here, and I think we have a little bit of a unique perspective. And I know that you deal a lot with, honestly, who most of my clients, you work with their customers, right? And so we've got kind of an interesting perspective here. So I'm really kind of interested to see where it comes today. Obviously, I've got the quote up here: "Recession is opportunity in wolf's clothing." So, let's talk. How can business owners make the most use of this really kind of nasty downturn that looks like is here and headed this way if it's not already?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. And I really want to be wrong about this. But all the signs I'm seeing is that we're headed toward a recession. We think it's going to hit first Q 2023. You have other people saying it's going to hit a little bit earlier, the last quarter of this year. But regardless, your quote is spot on. Everything that changes, when there's change and progress in the business world, it's always opportunity. But sometimes that means you have to get ahead of it. So we've already started doing stuff, Kyle, in anticipation for recession. One of the first things we did is we have repeat customers, right? So we don't sell widgets, we sell subscriptions. And so what we've done is we've locked a lot of our clients up in long-term contracts and offered them a price freeze, because we go up on our rates every year in trade for a long-term contract. Now, a lot of people go, "Well, Mark, you just threw money away." If the recession doesn't hit, you're absolutely right. I did just throw money away. However, if a recession hits, I have guaranteed revenue, bookable, forecastable revenue. The other thing we did, Kyle, is we got rid of a lot of our lower margin offerings, because quite frankly, I don't want my sales team selling products that only make 10 or 12% margin during a recession. So we actually added some much higher margin products to the mix. Once again, anticipation that my sales team is going to score less deals because of the recession. So I want those deals to make more money, if that makes sense.
It does.
And then finally, my biggest piece of advice, and I can't claim to own this. I stole this from Walt Disney, may he rest in peace. But he started Disney World during the Great Depression. And what he was genius at, I shouldn't say not Disney World. He started Walt Disney, the corporation, during the Great Depression. And what he realized is, when people are scared, when there's financial crisis, when you're in a recession, a depression, they still want to be entertained, right? They want to, for a minute, watch a movie and be removed from the day-to-day stresses. And so we're starting to offer more entertainment offerings, so that we can, if we lose some of our more scientific shows, we actually have stuff that entertains people, that's lifestyle type stuff. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing here. But the biggest thing, to your point, is you got to think differently than when times are abundant, when money's all over the place.
No, and we ran into the same type thing. So our business model today versus 2-3 years ago, completely different. I mean, if you saw me 5 years ago, you see me today, it's not the same business at all. The spirit, the mission hasn't changed, but how we go about it is totally changed. So it's the same thing that you're saying is we started offering subscription service on as much as is possible. Even our one-time projects, like a consultation program, we've broken up into like equal monthly payments for so long, because we want to make it as simple and easy for folks, as predictable as possible for folks. Because when your cash flows up and down, and that a bad month is just going to wreck you, you need to know what to predict. So I definitely think that the more predictable, the more easy to understand you can make it for your clients, I mean, absolutely the better. Now, you were talking about some entertainment options. Is this anything you're at liberty to discuss yet?
So we have a show coming out called Food and Energy, and it's the connection between energy and food. Now, cool. And if your audience doesn't know this about us, we focus on the oil and gas industry. And so in the oil and gas industry, anytime there's business or a conference or an expo, there is always food involved. There's a history behind that. But you have barbecues and tacos and briskets, right? Oh, yeah. And so this podcast that we're going to launch is going to be about that connection, and we're going to have food bloggers follow us, right? And we're going to collect recipes from the barbecue masters. And so even though it's going to be about the energy industry, it's going to be fun. Cool. We might have some Insta people out there, following us around as well. So it's literally going to be a lifestyle type show. And we have several of those in the works. The food and energy one is already out there, so I don't mind talking about the other ones. I have to keep quiet for now.
Well, so let's talk about this. And so I think we're in agreement that subscription models, kind of a little bit out there ideas than what we may have gone for before, are good. Obviously, there's risk that comes with all of this. But here, I'll give a little bit of background, kind of change we made with us. Maybe we can talk about some hypothetical changes other businesses can make. So when we first started out the company was in 2013, and I was building servers on my dining room table, right? And very expensive one-time deployments, very customized, very, very fine-tuned to the individual customer. But, that made a lot of sense because the economy is doing pretty well at this point in time. And I kind of followed that same model for a while, and we moved everything to the cloud, but it was still very big, rather expensive, one-time, highly customized deployment. But as soon as COVID hit, those pocketbooks closed real quick. And it's even if they thought it was worth the money, it was too much of a one-time risk, because what off on the 5% chance this isn't what we need. We just blew it all. And so we've gone to where we offer everything on a 30-day out. You give us 30-day written notice, we're done. No harm, no foul, no strings attached. But
we actually do the same thing with our contracts, and we do it to minimize risk for our clients. No matter what happens, if they lose budget, if we have another pandemic, if they don't like me, they can send me an email, no questions asked, and out of the contract. And buyers love this, especially new buyers.
So, what Kyle, do you think that more traditional? Oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to touch something that you ran through that I want to back you up a little bit. So one of the other things, and this only applies if you deal with large corporations, is they basically have two budgets. They have a CapEx budget, which is the budget process they do every year. They basically put a line item of what they want to spend money on, how much it's going to cost, and then upper management has to approve it. And that's usually the budgets that salespeople try to hit, the CapEx budget, right? Well, during a recession time, those CapEx budgets, we all know, are going to be constrained. So things like marketing is one of the first things that could be cut. However, Kyle, when you move people from buying your physical servers to the cloud, what you may not have realized is you now move their spend to their OpEx budget. So their operational budget, the budget that pays for the electricity and the rent for the space and everything else. Nobody critiques
that. Doesn't get cut budget so easy.
Yeah. So if you can rent your clients, your buyers stuff, instead of sell them stuff, you can move it to their OpEx budget. And here's the genius, Kyle. Most of the buyers from your client don't even know that. So you basically can help them understand how they can buy stuff that during hard times they normally can't get the approval to buy, just by renting it to them instead of selling it to them, and moving it from the CapEx to the OpEx budget. That's a great strategy that a lot of salespeople just don't understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. And, I think that's part of, and, don't want to get too far in the political world here, but people see so much about the, profits that oil and gas companies are making right now. They're making record profits while gas is sky high. I'm like, yeah, they're making record profits, but it's because they completely cut out that capital expenditure from their budgets. They're not spending money that they otherwise would spend if they had hope of a return.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go too deep down this, but a couple things. So first thing, audience, ExxonMobil and Shell owns no gas stations in the U.S., so they're not raping
Yeah.
you at the pump. That's just market determines pump price. The other thing is the industry for almost 10 years lost money. So when the rebound comes, they have to make money because they owe it to their shareholders and to their employees. They're not.
Yeah.
We're not a public service, right? And the market
Correct.
dictates the price of the pump, nothing else.
Yep. But
We're getting
these
off
are
down the rabbit hole, though, Kyle.
no, but I think it has a little bit to do with it, though, is it changes the way that companies, buy and spend their resources when things are down, and our outside perception may not be totally accurate of what's going on inside that organization.
100%. Yep.
But so we talk about subscription service. So obviously it makes a little bit of sense for my company because we've added our fractional quality management program, which is a monthly support plan where we step in and take over the role as a part-time quality manager for you. So we've been able to do that with a little more ease than I think a lot of other teams would. But if you're a traditional manufacturer, if you're selling widgets, whether this is someone doing pipe spools, building skids, pressure equipment, like what are some options that these folks have here to maximize on this downturn that I think we all believe is coming?
So let's pick a product so we stay on track. Let's pick something like a pump, right? So traditionally, if you sell pumps to whatever part of the industry, you're somewhat commoditized, right? The buyers buy on price. They may buy on specs and performance and warranty, but price is probably the main driver. Nothing
as long as those minimums are hit elsewhere, it just doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. And so in that commoditized world, it's hard to make enough margin to give yourself leeway to do other things. So my suggestion, if you were a pump salesperson, is instead of looking at yourself as the low price leader of trying to win business during a recession by being cheaper than everybody else, why don't you do something different? So why don't you take that same pump and instead of selling it, number one, lease it. Now you can move to the OpEx budget. But number two, if you're a salesperson or a sales engineer around that pump, what's in your head is unbelievably valuable, right? So while your competitors are trying to undercut your costs, undercut your price, and they sell and they go move on the next client, why don't you stay there at a little bit higher margin and help them and educate them? Like I know I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm a pump salesman. And I know that if you don't have extra bolt kits in stock on your own warehouse shelves, that even if I see a new pump, you may not be able to mount it because you don't have the bolt kit. Well, there's me using my expertise to make sure they stay online, make sure they have more uptime, right? So by being the expert, bringing that expertise to your clients, you can take something that's a commodity and flip it around to where it's not a commodity. Now, I know salespeople that you're going, Mark, I have to explain this to my sales manager. He's not going to get it. He will get it. If you pull it off and he sees that you're making an extra $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 a month from these clients because you're staying there and helping them with their facilities, he will get it, right? Now, if you are a salesperson doing that, make sure you negotiate your compensation to reflect that, that longer term revenue stream than just the hit on the sale.
Yep. And that's something that we've had a little bit of a hard time here figuring out as well, is because the traditional commission model you throw it out the window once you start doing these subscription type services. And it really does become more of that true account management type role.
100%. And the personality traits are different between those two types of salespeople, the hunter and the farmer, you'll hear it called. And you can, there's some people that can do both okay, but I'm just telling you now, nobody does both really well. So you're either one or the other. In my day, I was a hunter. I was really good at it. I was horrible at making sure our clients stayed happy. But here at OGGN, we're having it's really the truth. I wanted to go to the next kill, right? But here at OGGN, I have a salesperson that runs our sales efforts that has become more of the farmer. And what we do is we take our host, which are the point of contact with all of our clients, and make sure each month they touch base with our clients to make sure that happy. If you follow that, if you make sure your customer satisfaction is better than your competitors, as we head into this recession, you will keep business and probably earn business that they won't. They're still trying to make the big kills, and those big kills just about disappear during the recession.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I like the point you made earlier too about, you're effectively sacrificing the increased profits and gains for next year, but you're getting added security going into the year next year. And so,
and the other thing,
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. The other thing we're doing, Kyle, and this sounds counterproductive, but during a recession, businesses have limited cash flow or less cash flow. Their margins tend to go down, and they're ripe for acquisition, especially if they're scared, especially if they're looking at their cash flow projection to go, I'm gonna run out of money in 6 months, right? So we've also set aside money for acquisitions for next year. We are going to buy other companies that are similar to ours because we know we can pick them up for pennies on the dollar. But the only way I can do that, Kyle, is to plan now to put a little cash aside so that a year from now I can capitalize on that. So if you're in a place where you have a lot of competitors or any competitors out there, you can actually use a recession to grow your business, which none of your competitors will be thinking about whatsoever. So it's just another little thing to look at is to your point, to your quote, that's an unbelievably great opportunity to pick up other parts of the business to add to yours for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Well, we've been looking at adding safety services in here as well. Something that I've thought about for a lot of years, but honestly, the market for safety consultants and professionals is so overly saturated that it's become a commodity. Unless you're working in a real niche area that requires a lot of specific skills and expertise, the monthly safety management world has just been saturated. But what I've seen is during COVID, a lot of those consultants either retired or they went and got a regular job because they needed that security. And so we're kind of seeing that opening up. But these are the type of things that folks really have to be looking at is who else either directly in our path has fallen out of the way, maybe created a gap we could fill, or who else in a very close parallel path so that we're not going too far out our comfort zone, but who in a close parallel path has also fallen away that we might could step in with the right talents or skills or processes or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Watching the bigger guys in your space and waiting for them to make a mistake and make a misstep is a great way to capture some market share. And then once again, when times are great, big companies don't like to move vendors. Number one, it's a pain in the butt. Number two, it's a risk, right? Even if I don't love my vendor, I know what I have, and I really don't 100% know what I get by moving vendors. But I tell you what, when all of a sudden pennies start to matter instead of dollars, they are way more open to looking at new vendors. And if you position yourself ahead of time, it's a great thing to do. And something else, especially if you answer RFPs, as we head into recession, if you're responding to an RFP and you lose, use this as an opportunity and ask the supplier, ask the customer, can I be the backup vendor? Because let me tell you what's going to happen probably 2 out of 10 times is the person that won that RFP intentionally lowballed it on price, expecting to make that money back on change orders. And what's going to happen as we head into a recession is those change orders are not going to be approved. So the company that won that RFP by lowballing is going to lose money on it. And you can only do that a couple of times during a recession before you're bankrupt. Yeah. If you ask to be the backup vendor, first thing, nobody ever says no to that because it's a security thing. And I'm telling you, about 2 out of 10 times those RFPs that the vendor that won it will stumble, and you're right there maintaining contact because you got permission by being the backup. Yeah. And then you can come in with your normal margins and make money while your competitors are suffering.
No, that is a darn good point. We've lost the bid for a few consultation projects this year. And so I'm always trying to understand, really analyze, what was it that was the differentiating factor? But I mean, this is a good strategy. It's like, look, great, fantastic. You found who you got. We just want to be a backup. Is it okay if I check in a month or 6 weeks to see how the project's going? And then you maintain that contact. You're the helpful friend and not the aggressive salesperson.
Right. Yeah. So what else, Kyle?
What are some other things that, I guess, problems that you've seen companies encounter? You've got a little more experience in this world when the market tanks. I mean, we all know that the oil and gas world has its ups and downs, but really, what are some of the generating factors for this? I think most of our audience is probably oil and gas anyways. Not everyone, but about 3/4 is. So what really are some of the causes in these fluctuations that cause such cutback on the supply chain for folks?
Yeah. So for the people that are not in oil and gas, I'm not making fun of you. For the people that are in oil and gas, the recession is not going to even touch us. I think we're on a 10-year bull run in the industry. The world is going through an energy shortage right now. I called this last November. Everybody thought I was crazy. And there's no quick solution to it. Nobody can go flip a magic switch and supply the world with energy overnight. It's going to take 1 to 2 years to bring that supply back up to what the demand levels are. Now, if we do have a recession, a global recession, that will limit things like air travel for vacations and stuff, but the demand still will be there. So if you're in the oil and gas industry, the only thing recessions could do is make it impossible for you to get really good talent. It's make it much harder, but we're going to be busy. We're going to have jobs. There's going to be money. Look at what the price of a barrel is going for today, right? It's over $100 a barrel. That's going to stay. Now, if you're not in the oil and gas industry and the recession comes, once again, it's almost like, I don't want to say warfare, but it's almost like having to deal with having a catastrophic event happen. You got to button down the hatches. You got to watch every freaking penny that's going out the door. Make damn sure you're really good at following cash flow. I'm not. So I have somebody on my team that's really good at that. We're doing forecasts 6, 8, 12 months out, right? To look at cash flow. Look at your terms, your contract terms. If your vendors are giving you net 60, if your clients are giving you net 60 or next 90, that's okay when you have a lot of business, but you're going to lose some clients in a recession, and those contract terms may make or break you. So go back and renegotiate your contract terms. Once again, offer them a discount. And if you're dealing with a big company, don't do this through procurement. Procurement is incited to only get the lowest price possible. Talk to the business guy that signs the contract and go, look, I will give you a price break if you lower your payment terms. And they will. We do it quite often. So that's sort of stuff. If you're not in the oil and gas industry, you just got to make sure you run a lean ship. You make sure you keep your best talent. So every company, especially a small business, has 1 or 2 people that are vital to the business. You need to figure out how to lock them down in an open, fair way, right? Like other people may be cutting salaries. You may go to your rockstar say, look, if you promise to stay on, I won't cut your salary. Everybody else is. And you got to figure it out for your business, but you want to maintain and keep your talent. Cash flow is king. And you want to actually work with your clients because they're going through the same thing that you're going through. Right. So if you work together, and when we come out of this, and remember, folks, we always come out of bad times. I know when you're in it, it's horrible. I've been through it a bunch of times myself. But it always gets better.
True.
And if you,
it does.
Yeah. And if you follow all of this, when you come out, you could be so far ahead of your competitors, they won't be able to catch up.
Yep. Nope. I completely agree. I wish prior to COVID, I had learned some of these lessons. We could have emerged a lot better than we did, but we are doing better now than ever before. But it's because of these basic things. Is we just sat down and said, what is it that we do well, and how can we provide this faster, cheaper, and to more people at a higher margin? Now, that sounds like the crazy combo, but these things can be rethought to make sense. So,
COVID was different because we didn't see it coming. Do you remember joking about, it's like the flu and it's only going to be around for a week or 2 or 3 or a month or whatever? Whereas this recession that's coming our way, we have a lot of lead time. So you have plenty of time to prep your business. The worst thing you can do, though, is act like nothing's happening and keep doing business the same way. That's a death knell.
Yeah, we had a big lessons learned meeting near the end of the year last year. And this is something that I would suggest for really most anyone out there is get some of the critical people in your company. Now, I don't mean your management team. I mean, get from the guy that's on the floor doing the work. Let them know this is a confidential conversation. Your top management, supervision, and say, look, we need to rethink how we do business. Let's throw 1,000 ideas up here and let's see what sticks. Let's see what we like. And we sat down and went through it. What are all the problems we've run into? What cost us the most time? Not necessarily the most money. What cost us the most time? You can always make more money. You can't get the time back. So what are some, I guess, some advice you would have for folks that want to go through a planning session like that to say, how could we begin to reinvent ourselves over the next 6 to 12 months in preparation?
Yeah, I love the fact that you talk to your frontline people. If you have a company of more than, say, 10 people, at that point, around 10 people is when management starts not being aware of every single that happens day to day. If you want to drive efficiency in your company, talk to your frontline people. They know where it is. And it may be counterproductive. It may be that you're buying supplies from one vendor because it's cheaper, but they're always late, which then makes that whatever you're manufacturing always late. And it's not your frontline people, it's the vendor. Whereas when the frontline people tells you this and you switch vendors, even though it may be a little cost increase, now you're getting your supplies on time and you're getting your manufactured parts out on time, which makes your companies happy. So always talk to your frontline people. They're the ones that really know. From a planning point of view, I love what you talked about. I would advise bringing in a third party because let me tell you what happens. So if I brought you in to review my business, you know me and you like
Yeah.
me, I guess. I'm hoping, right?
Right.
And so you may not tell me the truth in a way that I need to be told the truth. So you may kind of he and haw around the fact that you have too many people on payroll, Mark, and you need to let a couple of people go. Whereas if you
Yeah.
don't know me, you have no problem telling me the direct truth. Like, you got 3 people you need to let go. You need to figure out who they are. So I would recommend bringing an independent third party. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be some contractor that you pay. Find somebody in the business world that's doing well. And it doesn't matter if their business is like yours or not. If they're doing well, they understand how to run a business. So that would be one of the first things. And then and make sure you include the entire team. Being transparent when times are rough makes people loyal to you. People know that bad things happen. People know that they may be laid off, their salary may be cut. What they're worried about is the unknown. If they know about it, they're much more comfortable with it. So always being transparent with your team, bring the entire team on the planning exercise, and then go through it in a very systematic way. Look at your financials, and some companies have small margins and they need to increase that during a recession. Other companies may be prone to losing clients. Other companies may not be able to get what they need from suppliers with this whole supply chain thing that's still going on. So you got to figure out for your business, what is your Achilles heel? What is the thing that the recession is going to affect you the most, and focus your efforts on that. Even if you run a large company like ExxonMobil, you really don't have unlimited resources. Although if I think of any company out there that's closest to having unlimited resources, it's probably Exxon. But so you have to focus on where you can move the needle the most. So that would be my plan. And then what we do, and we're not doing this for the recession. We've done this for 8 or 9 years now. We have a rolling 18-month plan. So we're always looking at 18 months out. What do we want to accomplish? And it's constantly changing. And then finally, Kyle, the result of this should not be some 40-page PowerPoint deck that everybody agrees upon and claps themselves on the back, and they stick it in a drawer somewhere and they never address it. I'd rather you agree upon a one-pager with 8 bullet points on that the entire team looks at every month or every 2 weeks or whatever. And it's going to change. You're not going to get it right the first time. So that would be my advice to anybody that's wanting to figure out how to plan for this.
Nope, totally agree on everything. And I really, truly hope someone's listening to this and can go back and say, okay, here's what I'm going to get figured out to do next week or next month with my team. But so a couple of things. I was kind of laughing there a little bit when you were talking about get someone in that's not afraid to tell you the truth. May not have been necessarily my intent, but I've run my business with my wife for a lot of years. Now we're actually trying to phase her out right now because she's wanting to go do her own separate quilting studio, and that's a whole other fun topic. But so we're trying to phase her out now. But at the time, though, she was still involved in the business, and let me tell you, Darcy, don't have any issue at all calling me out on something. So that worked out well.
Yeah, that's what you need. And I know Darcy. I can see her calling you out on stuff.
Yeah. So we, I guess, indirectly did that. And we'd also contracted with Eternal Energy and Steve Lewis, who I know he did a lot to advise and help us. So we go through these planning sessions, and I get all the ideas that we had. And we do the one pager. If I can't fit it on one page, it's too complicated. I mean, it's just, that's just it. And then I take the one pager to him. Hey, what do you think about this? Da, 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 da. And then we'd revise it. And then we've got a workable plan.
It is funny. So I'm going to give Steve pats on the back too. He's really good at that, him and his team. So this is going to end up being a promotion for Steve's company. People, if you need help, you really should talk to him. He's a great guy, and he's full of unbelievable, actionable information. Yeah. And
he's very calm, level-headed, which is, real valuable, especially because I tend to just want to jump and get it done, But no, that was really, really helpful for us. I agree with what you say as well about the 18-month rolling plan. It's something that we've started putting into place ourselves since COVID hit, and it changes every time you sit down and review it. And I think people sometimes feel that's a sense of futility, that the plan doesn't stay locked in, but no, that means that we're constantly adjusting where we go. I don't know. It might only make sense for folks that like to go hiking or whatnot. But when I go hiking with my oldest son, we purposely leave the trail. We don't want to follow the trail. But that means that you're going this one way, and you might be going for half a mile or a mile thinking, all right, man, this is a good way to get there. And then finally you run into a giant circle of briars and well, crap. that's bad. So you got to backtrack and try again. And it's really the same type of way operating our businesses. We might think this is a great road to go down, but if you're not looking far enough ahead, you're going to get stuck. And so these plans do have to be able to be revised.
That's a great analogy, because a lot of big corporations do their corporate planning and it's locked in stone. And quite frankly, the planning exercise is what they're trying to complete, not help the business. So once they're done, everybody goes, okay, we're done for the year. We don't have to do this again for next year. That is not valuable to anybody or any business. Once again, like Kyle said, you need to make sure that you're constantly evaluating, because the world is changing around you constantly, right? And you may have opportunities that you may miss because your plan says not to look to the left. And you also may stumble and actually run into those damn briars and have to hack your way through it, which eats up time and money. Whereas if you would have known it was coming, you could have went around it.
Exactly.
And all our listeners up north in the US have no idea what briars are.
Very thorny, thick vines that will just rip the skin off of you if you try to walk through them.
Yeah.
So it's fun stuff, but you run into those down here a lot. And we might have actually legitimately done that one time. I think this is good. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what you got? A couple of other things to think about. So first thing is, if you're a company, somebody's selling your stuff, right? Most companies have dedicated salespeople. Some company, the owners are the salespeople. They may not call themselves salespeople, but they are. So remember, the only person that's bringing money in the door is your salespeople. So you need to make sure not only do you hold on to them, but also don't be afraid to cut your losses if you have a salesperson that's underperforming. That's the sales world. Salespeople are like athletes. There's stats on them. Unlike nobody stack ranks accountants, right? But your salespeople, your top salespeople, you want to hang on to. And if times get rough and you have people that aren't earning their keep, unfortunately, you have to let them go. Don't diddly-dally around that. Do it as quick as possible. The other thing is, don't be afraid to not only continue spending money on marketing, but increase your marketing spend. Your competitors are not doing it because they're scared. And with today's digital marketing world, an extra $100 a month just spent on your marketing can make all the difference in the world.
Yep. I totally agree with you there. We're looking at doing the same thing here again. I was talking with Darcy about it. I'm like, look, I think I'm going to start spending blah, 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 blah on, all of these different marketing materials and online ads and this, that, and the other. She's like, should we really be doing that right now? I'm like, yep, it's about to get tough. The end of the year is coming. We're going to spend the money.
And then Kyle, one of the things that I just realized in this conversation, one of the things that you and I are both doing in anticipation of this recession is we're bringing in a new piece of business. We've partnered for our energy continuity conference. Neither one of us has ever done this. It's an experiment. But what we're both trying to do is not only put on the best show that's ever been put on in the industry, but also capture a piece of the market that we're weak in. Both of us don't have a strong presence in downstream. And so we are partnered to minimize that risk, right? In anticipation of recession coming and going and capturing a large hunk of revenue that our competitors will not be able to touch. So also don't be afraid to think out of the box. Don't be afraid of reaching out to other companies that have similar client profiles and saying, what can we do together? Minimize the risk, cut the cost for both of us. Let's work together as a team and see if we can knock it out the park.
No, absolutely. So this is a fantastic example of that. So it's something we've not talked about yet, but the episode we just released, so this is going to be coming out following Monday. I was talking about risk and contingency planning, and that's really at the crux of this conference that we're putting together is let's get some real world skills, advice, knowledge, and understanding out there for folks of what do you do when bad stuff happens, from a hurricane to what we're talking about now, recession proofing your business. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. And to your point, I think this is something else a lot of folks need to talk about. I know it's something you're passionate about is, find someone else, even a direct competitor. How can we work together for a common benefit? And we've started doing that with our software. So we've got another group out there, Oxbridge Resources with Chris Paris, and they're selling our software now. And so it's just a fantastic win-win type opportunity. You just 100%. Have to open,
So the cool thing about working with your competitors is you have the same clients, right? And so can you get deep enough into each other's business to understand if there's a delineation? If you and your clients are both going after, let's say, upstream operators, but but you go after the project managers and your competitor goes after the drilling engineers. Well, really, y'all could work together and both benefit out of this.
Yeah.
Even though you're going after
Yeah.
the same clients and the same type
Yep.
of companies, you're going
Yep.
after different subsets. And how better to approach it than partnering? Because I guarantee you, they have relationships that you don't have, and you have relationships that they don't have.
Yep. And we've done that on one of these projects as well. As we attacked most of the 9001 piece, just standard quality management. And they attacked the 17025 for laboratory management, and it works out well. But again, these are ideas that a lot of folks are real hesitant to try. But honestly, it's worth sitting down, getting a lunch with someone, find who the owner or operator is for one of your competitors. Say, look, I want to get lunch with you. Let's talk. What are some options that we might or might not have to work together? If nothing else, we just wasted an hour on good food.
Well, the worst thing that could happen is one of the things I've been preaching for years is that you get to know your competitor a little bit better. That is not a bad thing
terrible
at all. And your competitor is really only a competitor if they understand their business better than you do. If you understand your competitor's business better than they do, they're not a competitor.
No, I mean,
I'm not saying to go down that route. I'm just saying that to your point, the worst thing that happen is you learn something that's useful to you.
Yeah, if you have good intent of going into this, there really is no real downside. So no, there's a lot here that can be done. So I think that's really all I've got to bring up here, Mark. Unless you got any other points you want to address.
No, I'd love to come revisit this a year from now and see how see what we got right and see what we got wrong.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun. So no, I appreciate your time on here. I always love every chance I get to chat with you. But this right here is what I think is one of the biggest things that folks can do is get to know other folks who know more than you do about some topic. Talk with them, get friendly with them, learn something that they know that you don't. And what is it they say that you're the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right?
Yep.
If you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a different room. So
100%.
No, this is good stuff, man. I really appreciate it. Again, I really hope some of the folks listening can pay attention to some of this and put some things into action. And if you do, we'd love to hear about it. I'd love to get you on the podcast and say, hey, Kyle, we did XYZ and this worked out great for us, or it worked out terrible for us. Either way, it's going to be a fun conversation. So, let's talk. Yeah. So let's talk and go through it. So Mark, thank you again. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Kyle. This was fun. I'm looking forward to continue to work with you. And I really do. Let's say a year from now, let's come back and revisit this and see how well we did.
It'll be a lot of fun. A lot of fun to discuss then, man. You take care, Mark.
You too.
All right. Well, that is it for today's episode of Quality Matters podcast. So if you have not already, obviously, like, subscribe, leave us a review, especially in iTunes. We love to get the reviews on there. Love to hear your thoughts. If you've got a topic that you want to address, more than happy to discuss it. And if you're needing help with your management systems, your quality assurance, compliance management, don't be afraid to reach out to us, Texas Quality Assurance. We also have tons of free information on the website. No strings attached, editable documents, helpful articles. I want to make certain that folks have the information and tools they need to do their job and to do it well, and especially with the downturn that we're all predicting is coming. So you guys, I hope you have a great day. Hope you found something useful here, and we love to hear from you soon.